Okay, we're going to get going. Chelsea, you're all set? So we're recording, right?
I mean, she says we're unmuted, so I'm going to assume that
It says recording.
she says we're ready to go. So.
Okay, good. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Mr. William Vogel will lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty for all. Can we stand for a moment of silence? This week, Peter Grace, 24-year veteran of Fairfield's, employee of Fairfield, and just a beloved superintendent of our golf course, beloved by his colleagues, his family, passed away suddenly, and it's just our heart goes out to his family, and if we could take a few moments of silence. Thank you. So item 3, Bike and Pedestrian Committee. This was postponed from March 5th, 2025, for the Selectmen meeting. To hear, consider, and approve updating the charge for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee charge. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Amy, Brenda's on. Okay. Amy, are you going to take us through this, or we talked about it last week?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear what Anya took you through, but basically, it's been 10 years since the charge for the Bike and Ped Committee has been updated, and the group has evolved significantly, as well as regulations with the town, right? We've got the new Complete Street Ordinance, and we're developing the manual, and we've got a coordinator. So we felt it was time to update it. And some of the important changes to that is we've updated responsibilities of the committee to align more closely with how the group has evolved. We've also added a section on commitment expectations for the members so that existing and prospective members know what will be expected of them, right? Meeting once a month, not making 4 meetings in a row is considered reason for dismissal. But one of the things that we've been working on as a committee is developing goals that align with our values, which that's the last section that we added. We added a section on values of the committee, and I'm happy to walk you through them. But a lot of those values are aligning with specific goals, like increased education, organizing events, working with the new LTA, and working closely with other town bodies, and each member has been assigned an area of responsibility. So, for example, I'm in charge of social media. We have another new member, Alex, who is leading the charge for Project Greenway, as well as helping us formulate our position on e-scooters, for example. So that's really what's in the updated charge. We did have the attorney review it. It should be good to go. I know that the last meeting there was a request about making sure that there was adequate representation from all the districts. And first of all, we only have 9 members, so we can't have one from every district. But our current composition is 1 member each from districts 2, 4, 5, 8, and 10, and 2 members from District 9. And if Francisco is approved, Francisco is in District 10. But one thing that was pointed out was that no other committee has that in their charge to have representation from multiple districts. And so we decided not to add, it's a lot to ask for people, for community members to be on any volunteer board or commission. So to try to mandate that we have specific districts that we have to pull from, we just felt would really make it even more difficult. And like, as I said, no other commission or committee has that in their charge, so we did not add that.
Well, thank you. I love what you wrote here. I think it's all in line with the town values, and I agree with you that that would be unusual to add that, as long as it's top of mind as you look for people, or it counts as part of your selection process. But yeah, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just nothing to add. That didn't I say last meeting? And really just for us, while we're appointing new members, just to keep in mind if it's important to the Board of Selectmen to the geographic location of what districts members might be coming from, just because there are different needs in different parts of town. So appreciate it as a talking point, but appreciate also not adding it to the chart.
But there's other factors as well, like age and, whether you're bike or pedestrian, interested, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Any comments or questions, Brenda? No? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you, Amy. Congrats.
Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Item number 4, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. Francisco J. Mira Romero, unaffiliated, 140 Hurd Street, term 1124 to 1128, to fill vacant seat last held by Anthony D. Wellman, unaffiliated. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded. Francisco, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. Great to meet you. Really excited to be here, really interested in this committee. As you might have my resume there, I've been involved in transportation all my life. As a student, developer, consultant, but what really got me interested in the committee was my kids, actually. One of the things I really liked when we were looking at neighborhoods in Fairfield was seeing little kids just walking down the street, biking, and really kind of wanted that for my kids. But after being here for several months, we just recently moved over the summer. I realized that while the town has great assets, the beach, these high streets, universities, I think there's still so much potential, to create a better environment for walking and biking, which was actually reminded to us yesterday. One of our soccer balls went on the road and a car just ran over it. So one of those things that happens a lot, but sort of reminds you of the importance of this. And this is really exciting for me. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, you should not have submitted your resume, because I'm going to try to recruit you for other positions as well. But you have an unbelievable background, and welcome to Fairfield, and thank you for agreeing to do this. Any questions or comments?
Agree, your resume is perfect. I love your passion for it, and thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
Welcome to Fairfield, and thank you for agreeing to serve our community in this capacity.
Yeah, really excited about it.
Any comments from the public?
I just want to say thank you. Well, thank you, Francisco, but also welcome. And I look forward to meeting you in person at Thursday's meeting.
Tomorrow. Yep.
No other comments? Back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Francisco, thank you again. 4B, Golf Commission. This term takes effect April 1st, 2025. William J. Vogel, Republican, 60 Bridle Trail, term 425 to 429, to replace Liam Herron, Republican, whose term ends 3/31/2025. And many, many thanks to Liam, who's just a wonderful guy. Thanks for all your hard work, Liam. So may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Bill, do you want to say a few words?
Sure, I'll be brief.
Sure. Just so we can capture you on camera, if you don't mind. Yeah.
So my name is Bill Vogel. I've been a resident of Fairfield for 50 years. Been playing golf at Smith Richardson for 35 of those years. And I think it's an excellent facility. I think it always has been. And I look forward to help making it better in the future and putting a long-term plan into place. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
We're kind of neighbors. Brenda, were you going to say something?
No, I just welcome to stepping up for this. We appreciate your service to the town, and nice to see you, Will.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Bill. Christine? Well, you're going to have your hands full. It's an interesting group. Very passionate. Very passionate. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congrats, Bill.
Thank you.
Item 4C, Land Acquisition Commission alternate, Hillary B. Lane, Republican, 45 Fife Road, term 2024 to 2028, to replace Joe DiMartino, Republican, whose term expired. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is Hillary, Hillary, are you online? Ah, there you are. Can you introduce yourself? I think you're on mute right now. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah. There we go. Hey. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm also relatively new to town. I moved to Fairfield about 2 years ago, and I am looking forward to getting involved with the community and the town. Open space is an issue that's very important to me. It's important to the environment. It's important for aesthetics. That's also obviously very important to the community for recreation, for parks, and for open space. And I'm looking forward to making a contribution. I grew up in Easton, so I am fairly familiar with the area. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you. So you're probably in shock with so many people. We have more people than horses. What got you interested in this? Because this is a really good time to be joining land acquisition. It's been pretty active in the last couple of years. How did you hear of it?
Your newsletter.
All right. Awesome.
Actually, I've been looking for something to get involved with. I've, settled in and got my kids settled, and now I feel like I have some time. And I have been very active we were in Greenwich for quite a while, and I was really involved with the schools down there, but my kids are moving on, and it's time to find something new to do.
Well, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yep. Welcome to Fairfield, and thank you for volunteering. Love having newer residents get involved in our government. So thank you.
All right. Well, Brenda, any?
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Hillary, and I'm glad you chose Fairfield. It's a wonderful community. I'm biased, though. I grew up here. Land acquisition has a really interesting history. When I first got involved in town government back in the late 90s, they were established, the Land Acquisition Commission was established to try to save some of our land from development. And back then there was donations, and the town used to contribute quite a bit, actually. And they were quite active, and they purchased quite a bit of property if you look back at the history. And it has made a significant difference, because hadn't they done that, we'd be even more populated than we are right now. So every piece of land we can spare from development, I'm all for.
I'm sure both of my parents were active with the Aspetuck Land Trust, actually.
They're great. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept. So,
well, thank you for stepping up to serve, and welcome to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Hillary. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Item 5, Scott Jarzlovic, is he here, or is this going to be you, Adam? Town Librarian, A, to hear, consider, and act on a software license agreement between the Fairfield Public Library and Phoronix for software to erase and protect patron transactions. This approval includes the authorization to enter into renewals on similar terms and conditions. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do you want to wait? Do you want to just wait?
Well, Adam, can you take this, or should I text Scott? Did he,
I was not directly involved with these, so I can't really speak to what they are, but they're relatively small dollar contracts that just require your authorization.
How much are they, Adam?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I really don't know.
Oh, you don't?
I wasn't involved with these.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, one is 924, and one's $2,122.70.
900? $924?
Yeah. There's bigger ones for Scott after
Okay,
this, so.
For 2 of them, and then, hold on, let me get this one.
So cool.
And one of them is the
Yeah.
60.
Oh, you are? Okay, great.
400.
He's walking in the building.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, there's a much bigger one for
It's
his.
66.
Posting service.
It's 66.
Bill, do you want to let Hillary know that she's not obligated to stay on the meeting?
She's still on? Yes, she is.
Sometimes people don't know that.
You don't have to.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
Hey, Scott.
Everything. Come on,
You're at the podium. Let's go.
You're at the podium.
Yeah,
You're just.
I'm not
So
that early
we're
in the
starting
agenda.
with the small one, the Phoronix. And then we'll make our way to the larger ones.
Only 2.
We're on item number 5.
Yeah, 5A.
Got it?
So, Phoronix is software for public computers to erase and protect patron transactions. So if you're on our public computers, that's what that software is there for.
Where'd you get that amount?
It's on this piece of paper.
Oh, on that one, okay. All right, well, this is small. Yes, it is for annual cost of $924, and the info base is $2,122.70. Any questions?
No, I'm just going to abstain from both of them. Not because I don't agree with them, I just don't think it should be before us. Nothing personal, Scott.
I know, Brenda, thank you.
Any comments from the public?
Are we currently using Phoronix right now?
Yes, yes. So this will be a renewal.
So this is renewable.
I'm surprised that we didn't the last time around.
Maybe it was
I think we're just catching stuff.
Okay. Got it.
back. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Abstentions?
And
What abstentions? Okay, item passes. And item B, to hear, consider, and act on an agreement between the Fairfield Public Library and Infobase for a patron database of $80,000 videos and 800 courses for technology training, career skills, and communication. This approval includes the authorization to enter into renewals and similar terms and conditions. May I have a motion?
Second.
Second, so we just discussed this, so this is the $2,000 one. Any comments from the board or questions? None. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Abstentions?
Same.
Okay, now this is the bigger one. Okay, item number 6, purchasing authority. To hear, consider, and act on authorizing the purchasing authority to enter into the proposed contract between the town of Fairfield and Bywater Solutions of Santa Barbara, California, to provide all installation, implementation, hosting, training services, and all else necessary to deliver a fully functional integrated library system as detailed in Town of Fairfield RFP number 2025-9 and the Bywater RFP submission dated January 30th, 2025, for a total first-year contract value of $66,440 with additional authority to enter into renewals on similar terms and conditions. Make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Scott.
So this is our ILS. This is the software, the integrated library system that not only allows us to do everything that we do, loan books, keep track of inventory, and also keep track of our patrons who are registered. We also kind of work as a small consortium with Pequot and the museum. So, this is really big for the town. I believe that one of the first things I identified when I came on to Fairfield was that we needed a new ILS. And the big fear was the increase in cost if we were to move to. This ILS is actually about $20,000 to $30,000 cheaper. We have found a better product that will be less expensive, and I think will work for everyone. They're based out of California, but actually their rep for us is out of Trumbull because they don't have a centralized office. So we feel like we're gonna get they really wanted us because they want more Connecticut libraries. So I feel like this is gonna work for us really, really well. I also want to acknowledge the help that we got from Adam in purchasing. Dave Kelly was involved in this. He was a great help. And honestly, Prue is a pro when it comes to RFPs. I've done the RFP process multiple times in my previous job. And I wished I had a Prue back then because she was awesome and wonderful to work with and just top notch.
Call her in. She needs to hear. Oh, Prue, are you listening?
No, she'll hear it later. Okay. She'll hear it later. But Adam and his staff were great. Prue was amazing. And Dave Kelly was a huge help in helping us make this decision.
How long were we on the previous ILS?
12 years. I can't give you the exact years, but it was a decade.
But within the last year, we got Pequot on the old system, right?
So what happened was about a year ago, we had to move the database from our servers here in town out into the cloud, and this was for security issues because of the way Pequot was connecting to the database.
Okay.
So for cybersecurity reasons, we needed to move it out-house into, being hosted somewhere else.
And all that stays in place with the new system?
Yeah, I mean, we're of course moving to a different server, but all of that data is ours and we'll move to the new server.
All right, that's great. Any questions, comments?
Scott,
Yes, Brenda.
how much is it out every year after? Does it go down or does it?
It goes down every year after, and you know me, I'm not always good with numbers, so it's in there.
If I could just speak up, I believe it's about $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
Thereafter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Yep, 27.
So this, I think Pequot is very happy. This will reduce costs for them, and it will reduce costs for the museum as well.
Okay. Anything else, Adam?
I would just, it's all in the backup, but I would just add, we did a full RFP process. We received 5 strong submissions. We interviewed 3, and this was the unanimous selection of the RFP committee to go with this option. So we're comfortable moving forward with a recommendation on this.
All right, great. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You can run out now.
Apologies for the tardiness.
No,
Thank you. It's everybody but Anthony since he gave me the hardest time. Thank you.
See you later. Bye. Item number 7, Community and Economic Development. To hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Director of Community and Economic Development. Resolved that the town of Fairfield, by its first selectman, William A. Gerber, is authorized to enter into a e-campaign agreement with the United Way of Coastal and Western Connecticut to facilitate a workplace giving campaign for a term of 1 year at no cost to the town of Fairfield, and to execute all documents in connection thereto. May I have a motion?
Second.
All right, Mark?
Yeah, that pretty well sums it up. We've had a workplace campaign with United Way of Coastal Fairfield County, now Coastal and Western Connecticut. For many years, I've had the privilege of serving as the campaign chair. Been on the board of directors for the United Way of Eastern Fairfield and Coastal Fairfield County. Last few years, they've moved away from the paper pledge cards to an electronic option. We still have the paper pledge cards, but if people want to contribute or pledge online, they can do so. And this just provides a mechanism for that to happen. There is no cost to the town. Those fees have been waived. And it's just, we're currently underway in terms of our campaign. It runs through the end of March. So happy to take any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you for having faith in and setting up the display in this room for people to come in. Any comments or questions for Mark? Yes.
Do you have a fundraising goal for the town?
We shoot for a couple $1,000s. I think $4,000 is our goal. It's aspirational, but yeah.
Brenda, any comments or questions?
No.
Well, thanks for doing this, Mark. And thanks for getting the fees waived again. Was it $1,500?
Something like that. I think if there was a fee charge, we'd just go back to the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Abstain? Okay, thanks, Mark. Item passes. Item number 8, Anthony Calabrese, Parks and Recreation Director, requires RTM approval. To hear, consider, and act upon an amended and restated lease between the town of Fairfield and Fairfield Indoor Tennis, Inc., for a portion of South Pine Creek Road, Old Dam Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, good afternoon, Anthony Calabrese, Director of Parks and Recreation. Before you, we have a long-term lease with Fairfield Indoor Tennis, who runs our tennis bubble in the 6 courts that are there. They had come to us earlier this year, the Parks and Rec Commission, and asked to have their bubble up year-round as opposed to taking it down in May and then putting it back up in October. The primary reason for this is the controlled environment within the bubble in the summer. They say that their membership goes down, less people are out playing tennis because of the heat. So they wanted to have the controlled air-conditioned environment. Parks and Rec Commission gave them approval to keep the structure up year-round. Next step was to make it worth their while. They're going to be spending about $400,000 in air conditioning units to upgrade the facility. So what they wanted to do was reopen their lease, which is what is before you today. So what we did here was we took their long-term pre-existing numbers that they had. So for example, it was going to be it was $79,212 for the 2025 year for the everything but the summer months, and then they had a $33,000 lease for the summer. So when you total those up, it was $112, and that was kind of how we did it. It escalated a certain percentage every year for a total of $120,000 would have been their last year with us in 2032. What we did was we took the current long-term numbers, then the summer lease, and we escalated it 3% each year. And the town attorney worked with their attorney, and were able to come up with an agreement to extend the lease by 2 years. So we would go through September of 2034. And you see the rates before you. So we're not losing money in this deal. It's actually a really good deal. By that final year, we're collecting $171,000 worth of rent. which is significantly more than the 120 we had on the books originally. And this gives them the opportunity to hopefully get some return on their investment of the air conditioning units. But this is a long-term lease, and I believe that that's why it needs the RTM approval.
How much are they investing in air conditioning?
It's about 400,000, maybe just under. The handlers and all those units that go with it.
Right. Sounds great. Any comments or questions from the board? Yeah.
What's the fees? They kind of jump up in 2029. It's like a 20 significant, any rationale of why the big bump?
I wasn't involved in their original negotiation for the long term. We entered this in 2014. And it was I think it was a 20-year lease, or 2012 was a 20-year lease at that point. I'm not sure how they came up with it originally, but we kept those numbers. We thought that was fair and just added the 3% on top of it. Yep.
Yeah, it's great that it's staying up year-round. Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Item number 9, purchasing authority to hear, consider, and act on authorizing the purchasing authority to enter into the proposed contract between the town of Fairfield and Tie and Bond, Shelton, Connecticut, to provide engineering services and all else necessary for Center Street flow monitoring, detailed in Tie and Bond fee proposal dated March 13th, 2025, for a total initial contract of $48,000 with additional authority to enter into necessary change orders in an amount not to exceed the approved funding for this project. May I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Adam. And is Mega? Adam, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll get started, and hopefully Mega's there if there are any questions. Yeah. But so back in 2023, we put out RFP 2023-140 to do some engineering work, some design work on a series of pump stations around town. Ultimately, the board approved a contract back in February of 24 with Tie and Bond to do that work. As they've worked over the last year on this, they're recommending this as some additional services specific to the Center Street pump station, just to ensure that any recommendations that they make coming out of that contract are actually viable. It was felt that this was a reasonable add-on, and basically we're bringing it before you just because it requires a new signature, with terms and conditions and everything. So Mega could probably answer any additional questions from there.
Yeah, Mega, are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Do you want to just walk through, the need for this and?
Yes, sure. So this is actually part of our Center Street, part of the 3 critical pump stations that require upgrade: Fairfield Beach, Center Street, Pine Creek. Fairfield Beach pump station will be given. We have given the design authorization to Tie and Bond. That is on the first priority to get upgraded, to be replaced with a newer pump station, meeting all the coastal requirements. Center Street and Pine Creek are the 2 other ones that are on the priority list, but specifically for Center Street, it is on the high risk. It's also on the priority, and it also requires, immediate action on it with the replacement of force main and the pump station. But however, the construction is not going to happen within next 3 to 5 years. Now the question to us was that, considering the priority of this pump station that requires the replacement of the force main and also requires the replacement of the pump, because the WPCA operation group has maintained it a lot of times at pump, and they're kind of working it, but we don't know that if this pump and the force main can survive for another 3 to 5 years. And this was a question that we were asking, we have been discussing, that brought us for the risk assessment. So we decided to have a risk assessment done for this pump station, for pumps and the force main for both. And this is how this scope was developed, to have this risk assessment to know exactly that what is the timeline of this pump. Can it really survive within that range? If not, then we have to act on it immediately. And if it can, then it is helpful to follow that time period. So we are hiring Ty and Bond to do this flow monitoring for force main, specifically for the force main, for the pumps, to know the pumps, if that pump can, to know the condition of the pumps. They will do the flow monitoring. We will know the inflow that is happening in the pump because of the infiltration and inflow rates that are coming into the pumps, in addition to the normal base flow that the pump is taking. So the flow monitoring will help us to know the infiltration and inflow rates, that if that pump, that how much this inflow that this pump can take for this pump station. So the whole purpose is to have a risk assessment done for this pump, for the pump. So we know exactly the timeline, that if it can sustain its operation within that 3 to 5 years, we can have recommendation, and we will also have a budget in place. If it has to be an immediate replacement, then we have to really act simultaneously with Fairfield Beach. So this is the whole purpose of this scope of risk assessment.
So the monitoring will assess how long we can, or whether the pump can stay in place, but also the force main as well?
This will, the force main is going into the complete rehabilitation, that will be going into the complete replacement, but it will be mostly directed towards the pump.
Okay, and so if the pump, if you determine that the pump won't last, then that just gets moved up on the schedule?
Well, for the risk assessment, that's true.
Right, okay, cool.
And we don't have
the inflow capacity, sorry, it's for mostly inflow capacity of the pumps evaluation.
Okay.
And we don't have in-house capacity for flow monitoring for this?
No, this is a long task.
Okay.
Yeah, are you asking because we bought those devices?
Flow monitors,
but
those are
the devices we bought aren't for this purpose, are they? Didn't we buy some for monitoring capacity?
For sewer lines.
Yeah. Not for force mains?
Not for the force main, no, I'm not aware. Michelle, do you know about?
Yeah, so I'm here and I could add on to this. And so as Mega had explained, the Center Street pump station is second in line on our list of priorities for the pump station improvements, primarily because, one, operationally, we've had components, including the pumps, fail. This pump station, we know, is receiving a significant amount of inflow and infiltration. That's something that's come about in more recent years. So we know there's been changes that have occurred. We don't know specifically what those changes have been. We do have smart covers in the area, but we have a need. In order to size these pumps, we have a need to gain data in addition to what the smart covers are acquiring for us.
Okay.
So Ty and Bond already received our existing smart cover data, and was able to take a look at that and make recommendations off of that and say, hey, we have this data, but we actually need more data points in order to adequately evaluate the current operational capacity of those pumps, and to design what those pumps should look like in the replacement.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see, Brenda, any comments or questions?
No, I'm good.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye. All right, unanimous. Thank you very much. And I guess, Michelle, you're going to stick around. Thanks, Mega. And Adam. Item number 10, Board of Condemnation. Sands will be discussing this. to hear, consider, and act on a request to abate blight fines related to 400 Bronson Road. May I have a motion?
Second.
Go ahead, Sam.
Sure, we've had a request for a reduction in fines for this particular property, and we're here because there are some unique variables to this one. The property incurred 146, I believe it was 146 days worth of, 143 days worth of fines, or $14,300 of fines. We found out when we went to citation, while we mailed all the original notices to the legal address, and they were perfectly legitimate, the owner never had moved to Arizona, had never received them, and we had already moved to citation. By the time we realized that, the citation went to the correct address. And to which the owner, who lived out of state and wasn't in the area to do anything, promptly went to sell the house, and so entered into an agreement to sell. Actually, it's just a lot. And you'll see on the lot was just a shed. So it's somewhat different in magnitude than a lot of the properties we deal with. It's not an entire house that's falling down and things like that. It's a shed. And it from three sides, it looked relatively normal. And then on one side, you could see the door had fallen in and the roof had started sagging. And so it fully met the criteria for blight. So that's why we cited it, and determined that it was and cited it. And so when the original owner realized that he was being fined, he put the property up for sale. Mr. Marini and Mr. Theodorson, the folks who became owners of this, even before they were legally the owners, they started action to obtain the permits, met with conservation, met with building department, met with us, met with the Board of Condemnation to kind of say, this is what we're planning to do. And you can see what they eventually did is taking it down. And that was literally the day they had the authority, the legal authority to take it down, they did. But they got all the permits before they took it down. They did the right stuff. The company is a Fairfield-based company, that as soon as they could legally do that, they did it. As soon as the previous owner became aware that he was being cited, he took action to sell the property. And then the members of the Board of Condemnation are supportive of eliminating these fines. We think it's a reasonable step related to this one instance.
Yeah. Any comments or questions from the board?
No.
To the public, any comments? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks
Very much.
Take care. Good to see you. Item 11, Michelle Gore. 11A, to hear, consider, and act on approving an event residuals management agreement between the town of Fairfield and New England Waste Services of Maine, Inc., DBA, COSLA, for the collection, transportation, and disposal of all acceptable non-hazardous compost. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Michelle.
Sure, thank you. So what you have in front of you today is in follow-up to our previous discussions on this matter in regards to WPCF's ability to manage its sludge in light of recent state legislation, which prohibits the land application of biosolids, so our sludge, containing any level of at all of the emerging contaminant of concern, alkyl substances. And so our WPCF sludge, just like all other WPCF sludges, does contain PFAS at some level. We know this from analytical testing that has been performed. We are looking to engage with Casella to dispose of our composted biosolids or sludge. We have been accumulating, storing that material on site, on the site that Denali operates on behalf of the town, since the legislation went into effect in October. So by the time we are entering this agreement with Casella, we'll have about 2,500 cubic yards of that material accumulated. So we're just at capacity now. Casella is identifying 3 potential destination facilities to receive this material. 2 are located in the state of New York, they're landfills, and there is 1 landfill located in Vermont. We're expecting to have Casella remove on a daily basis until all that material is fully removed from that site. So we're looking at 5 days a week at up to 21 to 22 tons per load. And if we're looking at that type of disposal frequency, we should be able to dispose completely within 60 days. And this is our compost only.
Yep.
So we will no longer be producing new compost. This will be for the compost that we have produced to date.
Right. I believe, talked about this a lot publicly, so yeah, thank you for managing this so promptly. But I guess you didn't have a choice. You're kind of forced to do this quickly.
Right.
I'm pretty up to speed on this. Do you have any questions from the board? All set? Any comments from the public? Back to the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we've got a couple more for you, Michelle. B, to hear, consider, and act on approving a proposal from H.I. Stone & Son, Inc. for the collection, transportation, and disposal of all acceptable non-hazardous sewage sludge cake. May I have a motion? Michelle.
So thank you. So similar to our composted material, we will cease our composting operation, and we will be continuing to produce our raw sludge, our biosolids. They've gone through a filter press, so they're higher solid content. It's not liquid sludge, so we call it a sludge cake. We're looking to engage with H.I. Stone for disposal services for that material. H.I. Stone has identified 3 disposal facilities. 2 are landfills located within the state of Pennsylvania, and 1 is actually a composting facility located in Pennsylvania. And you may question why they've identified a compost facility. Pennsylvania does not have legislation currently in place similar to Connecticut, New York, what's pending in the state of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and then in Maine, who's very similar to Connecticut. So it seems odd, but Pennsylvania is not one of those states. So it's potential we could compost there and the material could be land applied. So we're looking at a production rate of our sludge of a maximum of 22 tons a day. We'd be disposing 4 days a week. So we're looking at 88 tons per week being removed from the WPCF. If we're disposing of sludge at that frequency, we will be able to maintain our current operation. So we won't have any operational upset at the facility. We will also be able to most efficiently control odors at the facility, which is very important to us, as you know. We have a quote here in the proposal for the cost. That will equal, if we're going to go for up to a year, that would be $850,000 per year to dispose of our sewage sludge. This is something that this is short-term services, and short-term I mean likely less than a year that we're entering into with Stone at this point. We will have to go out through the competitive purchasing process for longer term services. And Stone and other vendors we've spoken with are aware of that.
Thank you, Michelle. For the benefit of the public, it's found that the sludge, the waste that is processed has significant amount of PFAS, forever chemicals in it, things that we pick up in our everyday living, unfortunately, with products that we use. And the state of Connecticut has put a threshold of 0 on PFAS in sludge that can be land applied. We have been land applying this through composting for years, can no longer do that. Michelle quickly when this new law was passed, started looking for avenues to make sure that we could continue operating at the plant. If we are running out of space to store the sludge right now, right? And have to get this in place. It's kind of an emergency. We've got to get this started to be shipped out ASAP. Otherwise, we're not going to have a place to store it at the plant. The only other alternative is to burn it, and there's not much capacity to burn sludge in Connecticut right now. So we have this $850 in our budget. It was kind of a last minute ad, right, Michelle?
Right.
Yeah, because of this new law. So it's unfortunate and upsetting, but it is a fact. So thank you for dealing with it. And part of this is that since it is an emergency and there are a limited number of vendors, you went out. This was not a RFP. We didn't have time for that, but you did reach out to a number of vendors. So this was given a waiver from the RFP process.
Correct.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Aye. Again, thank you, Michelle. Here's one that's not reactive. This is proactive. So items 11C, to hear, consider, and act on approving a cost of service study agreement between the town of Fairfield and Raftelis Financial Consulting to perform and complete an evaluation of and make recommendations for further advancing WPCA's revenue sources and financial and capital plans. May I have a motion?
Second.
Michelle.
Thank you. So what you have before you is a proposal from Raftelis to perform a cost of service study for WPCA. So this was identified as a need through WPCA's recent financial planning efforts with the town finance department. And we found that WPCA could really benefit from some type of outside consulting expertise in the field of environmental economics to better inform its revenue budget, and really specifically its sewer use rates, its inflow and infiltration fees, and its permit fees. So these sources are the primary drivers of our of WPCA's revenue budget. And as such, they're really intimately tied to not only our routine operational expenses, but definitely to our capital projects funding as well. So what Raftelis will be providing WPCA through this work is, one, an evaluation of our existing, actually brand new existing financial model. They'll make recommendations which will be inclusive of a cash flow forecast for our revenue. This will really better inform our annual budget proposals in future planning years. Two, it will provide that cost of service model to determine classes of customers and costs incurred by our utility to serve each. This will really be informative to our rate setting in the future. And I know I've taken, since I've started my role here in Fairfield, many questions, both internal and external, about where our WPCA is at compared to other WPCAs in Connecticut when it comes to sewer use fees, our rates. So this will be able to provide a more educated answer to that. Three, this evaluation will include a review of our existing I&I connection fee. We'll be able to benchmark off of, as I said, other similar WPCAs, and the analysis will make recommendations for modifications of our existing fee framework for I&I. And then finally, what Raftelis will do is evaluate WPCA's current capital plan that's most recently been updated and make recommendations to optimize not only our project scheduling on that plan, but also make recommendations on projects that we should consider to continue our compliance with our state NIPSES permit, and also to reduce project costs. So Raftellus is projecting a 4-month timeline. With this being initiated in April, it would be able to be completed in July. I think just in time for our commission to consider as part of its deliberations in rate setting in August.
Well, you just answered.
Timing's good. Timing's good.
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, so it may not just be the level of charges, like the amounts, but also how you're charging, the basis on which you're charging, and that may be different in other municipalities and more rational in other municipalities.
Yeah, correct. With this evaluation, including the review of our capital plan, that's exactly correct.
Fantastic. I think this is, we've never done this, I don't think, right?
Right, not to my knowledge.
Any comments? Yeah.
They're just going to need information from us. Do you feel, I'm just looking under task 3 for the cost of service study and just the data that we need to give to them. Do you feel like you're in a good place for having that, or?
I do, and I appreciate that you asked the question, Christine. It was a question that I walked through with the Raftellus rep on. There were a couple items there I had been unclear on, especially when it came to our users, because we don't have any type of survey of our customer base, nothing formal, but we're not getting down to that level of detail. So the information that our tax collector receives from Aquarion will be adequate for this analysis when it comes to our users.
Any questions, Brenda?
Yes, it's nice to see you, Michelle.
Same here.
When do you think we'll have this data? Did they say how long it would take them to?
The data we'll have. We'll talk about it at the kickoff meeting with Raftellus. But I think their projection is like 1.5 months to complete the data review.
Oh. And they'll be able to give information to you, the town. When do you know?
Let me pull the specific schedule out of their proposal.
Yeah, I mean, on there, it says document and present June, July.
So the final deliverable, the final deliverable they'll provide to us in June. I think they're giving us about 20 days to review and provide comments. So that brings us to July. So we'll have a draft deliverable in June.
Wow. Okay. No, this is good. We need it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to engage with Raftellus on this.
Fantastic. Any comments from the public? No one has comments on sewer rate setting schedules? All right, back to the board. All in favor say aye. Unanimous. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Item 12, Tim Bishop. Tim, are you on? Yep.
I am.
Oh, hey, Tim.
He makes his entrance.
Wow, you are making the grand entrance. Conservation Director requires Board of Finance and RTM approval to hear, consider, and act on approving an agreement between the Town of Fairfield and Osprey Initiative LLC for the purchase, installation, and maintenance training for a litter interception boom system, and to further approve an agreement between the Town of Fairfield and Earth Place, Inc., for the maintenance of the litter interception boom system, and to further approve a maintenance agreement between the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation, CTDOT, and the Town of Fairfield to authorize the town to work within the CTDOT right-of-way to install and maintain the litter interception boom system, and to further appropriate the sum of $21,760 for the amounts owed under the agreements. May I have a motion?
Second.
Great, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Selectmen, thank you for having me on this matter. This is a request, as the summary explained, to install a floating litter boom on the Rooster River, just on I think that's the North Avenue Bridge, which the river divides the city of Bridgeport from the town of Fairfield. The intent is to, again, work with these partners. Osprey is the manufacturer. Earth Place, aka Harbor Watch, is a consultant partner that we participate with in water quality issues and have been for some time. I had a recent meeting with DOT, since it is their parcel adjacent to the bridge, to discuss it in person, and we are hopeful that installation of the floating boom at this location would capture significant amount of floating trash and remove it from the Rooster River from further downstream impacts, as well as eventually making it to Long Island Sound. That's the intent of the project, but the intent of the request is obviously these approval of the legal agreements between all the parties. Earth Place and Harbor Watch, along with my department, will work together to secure the necessary permits from DOT. If there's one required from the City of Bridgeport, Inland Wetlands Agency, as well as our own Town of Fairfield Inland Wetlands Agency. And just to really briefly describe what the device is, it is just a floating hard boom with almost a trash can with holes in it at the point of the V. It's secured to 2 locations. It does have a tearaway feature, so if a car or a log floated down, it would rip intentionally, so to not cause any additional blockage. Part of our agreement would include pre-storm preparations, disconnect it if we have to, remove it if we have to, if there was going to be a hurricane or a big rain event. The monitoring portion would be conducted for the first year by Harbor Watch. That would include the removal of the trash in some frequency yet to be determined. It could be weekly, it could be monthly. We don't know how much trash we're actually going to collect. And part of their end, the back end, would include an analysis of the trash. What exactly are we collecting? Where could it be coming from? Is there a way to prevent the trash from entering the water course based on what it is? Is it bottles? Is it, dog poop bags? Whatever's floating. And they would conduct that analysis. So the benefit to all this is the request would have no expense to the town or the taxpayer, as this would qualify and appropriately meet the needs to expend the funds from our NIP fund. So that would include the purchase from the Osprey device, for the Osprey device at $11,760, and then the 1 year of monitoring and maintenance from Harbor Watch would be $10,000. So.
Excellent. Yes, Christine.
So on the Osprey information, they would provide in-person training for 10 local volunteers and staff members. Is that the Harbor Watch?
It would be Harbor Watch and my department as well. Yeah,
but not just not members of the community as volunteers, you foresee?
Probably not, at least for the first year, just so, we have a good handle on it and operating it. But it really does just float, it will move, it's, I don't foresee any, it's on the surface, so it's not like it's gonna block or dam anything. But enough of our collaboration between the department and the and Harbor Watch would say if there's a heavy rain coming, maybe they can't get there fast enough.
Sorry about that.
My staff can, or whatever. We would coordinate that, but I think it's an effective location. We did look at some other locations, and Harbor Watch did scout it out in advance. As far as logistics on how to anchor it, how to get down to the water course to remove garbage, this seemed to be the best one. And
my thing's locked. There you go.
If this location didn't work and we had to relocate to another spot, you know, 2 anchors and we move it, so it's not, you know, totally permanent. Bill Hurley and I have discussed that further downstream, on the other side of the bridge, there is a location of a floating trash island that has been swirling in an eddy there, caught in this tree snag. So that would be indicative of the need for this device at this location, that there is that much garbage going downstream. So I think it's, you know, at no cost, it's, I think, minimal to little, you know, to no risk to the town and nearby residents.
How did this?
I think it's a great idea. There's a lot of trash there. I've been in that river cleaning trash. A lot of trash. Hey, Tim, how much do we have in that NIP fund?
Last I checked from finance, I think it was close to 100,000. So,
Nice. Hey, did we by chance reach out to Bridgeport and see if they could give us some of their NIP money toward this? Because a lot of that garbage comes from them too. And it floods their people too.
I did reach out to their engineering department to meet with us with all of these parties, including Connecticut DOT. The engineer couldn't meet with us at the time, but I'm open to discussing that as far as funding. I don't know how easy that will be to work with the city on the money, splitting the money, but I'll do whatever the board feels appropriate.
Well, I just think, you know, they've been helpful in the past. I just think they're obviously probably getting way more NIP money than we are. And I just think that they should be part of this. They have been part of helping us with Rooster River in the past. And I think they should continue. And maybe we can even add more of these things along the river, because the garbage really does add up. And if it's successful, you know, maybe Bill could write a letter to Mayor Ganem, you know, once you have some information, but I just think they should be part of this. I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. Just think they should pick up part of the tab.
Great. Happy to do that.
Couple of questions. One is, I'm just curious how this came about. Was this your idea, like your project, or did?
This came from Nikki Spiller at Harbor Watch.
Oh, right, okay.
We work with her on a lot of the water courses and the monitoring, Bill and I in engineering. So she brought it to me.
And she's used these booms in the past?
She hasn't. We'd actually be the first in, I believe, the state.
So what would happen if there's a storm and we can't get to the boom? It'll just tear away?
It would tear away on one side. We wouldn't lose it.
It would probably just
go to one side.
Yeah, go to one side. Okay.
Yeah, and it's designed to do that, have a breakaway point.
Okay. Yeah, because when there's a flash storm, no way anyone's going to get out there. Like, it's very difficult to get out there, and probably the one would be pretty low on the totem pole of things for DPW to manage. But I guess you're out there looking at tide gates and things like that.
Yeah, my crew could respond prior to, before anyone else anyway, if it was a sudden event.
So you think, based on what Brenda said, should we move ahead with this one as a test case and then call, could call like Ken Flato or Mayor Ganem for additional booms,
I think running this as a pilot is a good start, especially in this location. I think, like we discussed, that there's going to be plenty of garbage. I don't think this would be a location where we have it in the water for 6 months and haven't, have only emptied it once.
Yeah.
I do think it will be frequent, and we'll probably see some trend with, seasonal trends that we'll need to increase our frequency in monitoring and removal during the summer months versus, and then we'd take it out in the winter if it got icy or there's just no volume of trash. So
I'm okay doing this is a pilot. Brenda, are you okay moving forward with this?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a great idea, and it's a really good use of our NIP money.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I do agree that you should reach out to Bridgeport and just, if they don't, one upstream, could be, if that's where the garbage is coming from.
We could prove that it works.
Catch it
Yeah.
before it gets down to, because there is going to be just manpower and having to clean it, so there is a benefit
Yeah.
of not having everything.
But it'll be a good test case to see if it actually
Yeah.
does what.
Could you take it out if you know a bad storm is coming? Would you
Oh, yeah,
potentially
absolutely.
take it out,
Yeah.
get ahead of it? Just
Yeah, because we don't want it damaged either, so it's
Just do
it's
that.
to our advantage. Hey, we think something's coming, or we heard, let's run out there, grab it,
Yeah, it's great.
Okay,
Great.
fantastic. I'm ready to go to the public. Any comments, Bill?
Just real quick, originally we had these same concerns that you had brought up from engineering, and they've been addressed. It's going to be an environmental benefit for the town, and the tear-away component and the maintenance agreement certainly was, any fears that we have has now been addressed. So, yeah, we support the project.
Thanks, Bill.
Any other comments? I'm not seeing any. Back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, you're still up. So item 13, Conservation Director Tim Bishop, to hear, consider, and act on approving a permanent access road easement between the Connecticut Light and Power Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and the town of Fairfield regarding 3322 North Street, 3440 North Street, 3505 North Street, 3600 North Street, and 3611 North Street agreement, and authorizing the Conservation Director of the town of Fairfield to execute said easement and all documents in connection thereto. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Tim?
Thank you. This has been going on for several years. It started not long after I got here as it relates to the monopole replacement project that Eversource was conducting from Westport and beyond to Bridgeport and beyond. It's the, again, replacement of the monopoles through this section of Brentwood's open space, where access to their 80-foot right-of-way was required and permitted by the Conservation Commission. So what they ended up doing was entering North Street, which historically was a paved road from the Reading Road side all the way to the Gilbert Highway side through what is now Brett Woods. And there were two, I'll call them spurs off of that North Street access road that my department uses for maintenance in Brett Woods into their right-of-way. Eversource, as part of our agreement and the approval from the commission, included improvements to the access road with large stone and gravel. They created a parking lot for us on the Gilbert Highway side. They improved parking on the Reading Road side, and they installed some really nice gates to deny access to unauthorized vehicles. This easement will allow them to use this access road in future events for vegetation management and other maintenance needs of the monopoles and their, which require access into their right-of-way. It's been, again, discussed and approved by the Conservation Commission, and town attorney has reviewed the documents many times. There's been some edits and revisions, and I think this is just the formal end to the process. So that's why it's before you this afternoon and seeking approval.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't know this was going on. It was interesting because they've done so much work already up there replacing poles. So I wasn't aware that they needed additional easements. Like what, I mean, up near Brett Woods, they kind of replaced a lot of those poles recently.
They did. They replaced them all. It was a big project. The old catenary towers were very outdated. And I know this town of Fairfield doesn't use Eversource, so it's really just a pass-through. I would comment that our relationship with Eversource during this project was very, went very smooth. We had a couple complaints from adjacent neighbors, but overall, for the duration of this project, which was 6 to 9 months, they worked well with us and accommodated the public as far as access. Sometimes they did have to close access at certain points, but the public was allowed access from other points of Brett Woods. Overall, I think the improvements that were agreed upon benefit the town, benefit the open space, and my department. And those will be long lasting, and they were much needed. We had some parking issues on the Gilbert Highway side of North Street, and the parking lot they were able to create is resolved those. And for future use, I don't think those towers, the previous towers were up for 50 years. I don't think they're going to be replacing the new monopoles, maybe for another 50 years. So this access easement would really allow them in there for occasional vegetation management, which they cut branches that they're required by the state and feds to maintain distances from the 115,000 volt wires.
So the easements that they had to actually go in and do all that replacement work, these are in addition to that, or
these are those
the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same. It's the same access roads that they were using as part of the project. They just want to make it a formal, permanent access. Which, if in 20 years they came back to do something in here that was significant, they'd have to go in the same way anyway. So there's really no really adverse impact to us as or conservation as it relates to open space, because I think there would be no problems or disadvantage to deny them access quarter century from now.
They already had those easements for the original poles, right?
I don't think they did.
So we granted them temporary easements in order to do the replacement poles, or
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was temporary, and this is they want to make it permanent.
Any questions? They've already done all the work.
I know that
Now they just need to keep
A
it.
lot of people were surprised by them going up and not happy about how close they ended up being to their property, but now that they're there, I do think that it's important that they maintain the vegetation around them, so.
Yeah.
And all the work within that right of way, I know there were some angry residents, especially as it relates selfishly to wetlands. There were some disturbance, but that again falls all to the siting council. So within their right of way, we don't have much of a say.
Yeah.
So some of that was happening, but as far as this document goes, it's really just to get them into the right of way. Is our only hand in it.
Any questions, Brenda?
No.
We all set? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Item 14, refunds. To consider and act upon tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector in the amount of $2,480.57. May I have a motion?
Second.
Any questions? Any comments from the public? Back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 15, to hear and approve the draft minutes of January 22nd, 2025, January 30th, 2025, and February 5th, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 16, some announcements. want to announce on the Board of Finance public comment session has been moved to Fairfield Ward High School. That will be on March 29th it begins at 9:30 a.m. The public is encouraged to attend that meeting and give public comment. On March 27th at 6 p.m. at the Bigelow Senior Center, there will be the Parents Guide to Mental Health program is hosting a free child's well-being class, and this is sponsored by the town's Social Services Department, Fairfield Cares, and Parks and Recreation Department. And so, you have anything you want to add to that?
Just encourage parents to. It's a wonderful program. Margaret Horton is going to be presenting just to give some guidance to parents for early warning signs for childhood anxiety, depression, ADHD, and serve as a resource for parents. So great opportunity. There'll be information on Fairfield Cares and some of our services that we provide to our youth, and hope that people will look at playing the phone. Always nice for parents to connect in those types of programs. So I thank everyone involved for making it happen.
Yeah, thank you. Next, Fairfield received the Democracy Cup Trophy. Last Friday, Connecticut Secretary of State Stephanie Thomas joined elected officials, including the town clerk, registrar of voters, Fairfield State delegation, and League of Women Voters, poll workers at a ceremony at the Fire Training Center to award the town of Fairfield the Democracy Cup for the highest voter turnout in 2024 of large town in the large town category. So that was really exciting. Update on the school feasibility study. So Svigals and Partners of New Haven was selected from a group of 5 bidders to provide architectural and engineering services to include site evaluation and feasibility studies for the proposed facility developments at Dwight, Jennings, Mona Terrace, Giant Steps, Riverfield, and Osborne Hills School. In addition to studying Dwight, part of the scope of the work is evaluating locations for an ECC. The contract with Svigals was approved at our February 28th Board of Selectmen meeting and has been officially signed by me. The kickoff meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday, March 26th. Jeff Peterson, Chair of the Board of Ed, the HVAC Indoor Air Quality Building Committee Chair, Jeff Galdenzi will be there, as will be Superintendent of Schools Mike Testani. They've been invited to attend that kickoff meeting. So the proposed schedule is as follows. Site analysis report will be taking place between March 10th and June 23rd. And Svigals will be looking at each of these locations and doing whatever testing and engineering work they need to do their analysis. They're going to do the architectural concept design and planning package between April 7th and July 14th. Engineering reports April 7th to July 14th. Preliminary cost estimates and value engineering report May 5th to July 28th. And the final feasibility study July 21st to August 1st. And there will be a state reimbursement funding report, which is an ad alternate on this project. They'll be working on that between April 7th and July 14th. We'll be having bi-weekly project update meetings between, in March all the way through August 1st. And this schedule we will post online. And any other announcements?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
And about Mr. Galdenzi, how did he get included into this working group?
The HVAC building committee volunteered to participate in the building committee for Dwight. So he's going to attend this meeting, but we do need to vote.
I mean, I think that I would want, just what is the next step for how it's evolving from a project management group, which was, the capital, Angeles, the group here at Town Hall, and I guess Mr. Peterson was invited to attend some of those meetings.
Right.
So it just as new people are being added, I'm just curious about the procedure for doing that. You know, with the building committee, usually the Board of Selectmen would give them a charge. We would vote on the members potentially.
This
And
is-
I don't know like how, like,
Yeah,
You know, how it's
this
gonna
is not a
an
full-fledged building
idea.
committee. This
So
is a
just-
small group of people that will be affixed to, I mean, we're not moving away from the group, you know, the internal group. We're not transferring this to a building committee until the final report is created. So this is like an observational group that can then, discuss with their constituency, with the public, just to make it a more transparent process. Some people have asked for greater transparency, but this is still a town hall run project.
And and I'm just going from previous reports about having members of the public. I thought that after your meeting at Dwight, you had talked about having a pseudo building committee, having members of the public.
Yeah, so we're gonna add a couple members of the public to a pseudo building committee that will help keep the public informed of what's going on, because, you know, a lot's going to be happening very quickly on this. The public didn't want to wait until August 1st for a building committee to just, I mean, the feedback we got was people wanted to be better informed of what's going on throughout the process. But it's still run by the construction management group.
And I have said it, just appreciate this report and would want, because this group is not going to be having public meetings, correct?
No.
So just would request that it be a standing item on our agenda just to get
Regular
updates on
updates.
what is going on with this group and who might be added to it.
Yeah, so, and I was very thankful that the HVAC committee, the 3 members of the HVAC committee, the HVAC building committee stepped up and said, yeah, they would help with this. But, you know, I think it would make sense, you know, when, at the end of the day in August, that they could be part of this. But they did say that it's going to be a lot of work, and we would have to add people to the committee.
I mean, I think that once this is done, then it really goes back to the Board of Education.
Right.
And then it would be a formal building committee.
It would be a formal building committee.
Right.
Any announcements, Brenda?
I would like to ask, I know the board did get, we got an email or two from employees, and actually some employees have reached out to me just personally when I saw them in public, or that a lot of people are having difficulties, either current or prior employees, with this whole Paycom W-2 issues. And, you know, people are mentioning that, you know, they're going to have to pay their tax preparer to redo their taxes because they had already filed, because it's so close to tax season. I mean, it was, you know, I'd just like to request that you take into consideration identifying those employees who did do that, and maybe the town could reimburse them for whatever cost that is, because, you know, it's really unusual for someone to, you know, to get their W-2 and then go file their taxes and then get, you know, a whole bunch more W-2s that are different. You know, just something to consider for people.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to HR.
Yeah, maybe send an email, or them send an email to all the employees. And
Yeah, I mean, the W-2s did not change the income lines, right? There was an error, which I'm not exactly sure where that error came from. Probably not from Paycom, but it was in the healthcare, cost of healthcare box, where the employee portion was included. It was supposed to be 100%. So people's tax returns shouldn't have changed because of that. It was just an incorrect, entry regarding, I guess that's for the calculation of Cadillac tax on healthcare. So I don't actually know what people needed to do. I haven't really heard from anyone about whether or not they actually had to refile or.
Well, someone did email our board saying that they already had filed and they're gonna have to refile. I don't know how widespread this may be, but maybe it might be worth for the, HR department to send out an email or for you to send out and, ask employees if they have that issue.
Yeah.
Because if they have put, if they put incorrect information on their tax return, especially what's going on now these days, with our federal government, who knows? Might want to just double check. I mean, it's worth an ask, that's all.
Yeah.
And the email was from a former employee. Did communication go out from HR to any employee that, was with the town in the last fiscal year? Because they may not necessarily know about it. I know that it went down to current. Like, people may not necessarily, it may not be an issue. They file their taxes and it really may not be.
I mean, what I heard it was they took it out post-tax as opposed to pre-tax.
Oh, no, that's a separate issue.
Well, that's definitely gonna mess up someone's filing.
Oh, no, that was actually a correction of a mistake that had been going on for years that Paycom caught. So there was an issue with people. Some people who were on an HSA program were getting their deduction for healthcare taken out post-tax, and Paycom caught that and then corrected it. So I think that created another issue. But
I would just double check, because some of the stuff was, people said that their income was changed by this. So I mean, listen, I don't know, but I just got some. We got some emails, and I heard from people, and just in town who work for the town, that they were having a lot of issues. So
I'll
I
ask to make sure that the email went out to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if they have, former employees, if they have contact information still.
I hope so. They have,
In terms of by email, but I know that it went out to current, but I guess some people that no longer.
But just to check, maybe an email that says, if you had some kind of issue and had to refile and it cost you anything, the town would pick that up. I don't know, it's just worth asking.
Yeah. Okay, any other announcements or? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, thank you.